మాది పరిగి మండల్ నర్సయ్యగూడ, వికారాబాద్ డిస్టిక్. ఇక్కడ మా పాపకు ఫీవర్ వచ్చి ఒక 1 మంత్ అయినా అక్కడ ఎంత చూపించినా తగ్గలేదు. అక్కడ రిపోర్ట్స్ చూడంగానే ఇక్కడ మాకు నీలపూరి హాస్పిటల్కు రాశారు, కానీ మాకు నమ్మకం లేక అక్కడ పోలే. ఇక్కడ సార్ గురించి హాస్పిటల్ గురించి తెలుసుకొని ఇక్కడ వచ్చిన మేము రాగానే మమ్మల్ని చేర్పించుకొని కరెక్ట్ టైంకు కరెక్ట్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ ఇచ్చారు. వాళ్ళు చెప్పిన ప్రతి దానికి మేము కోఆపరేట్ చేసినాం, వాళ్ళు మాకు కోఆపరేట్ చేశారు. మా పాప మంచిగా అయింది. ఇక ముందు కూడా ఇక్కడనే చూపించుకుంటాం.
I'm Dr. VSC Prasad, Chief Executive Officer and Chief Consultant Pediatrician of Lotus Hospitals. This is Dr. Jilani, Consultant Intensivist, ICU Specialist for Children, Dr. Annapurna, Children's Specialist. Today we are very happy to see a 5-year-old girl make a remarkable and miraculous recovery from a condition which we thought we will lose her. When she came to us on 29th of last month, she was already suffering from fever for almost 3 weeks. Very high fever, 102, 103. It used to go up so high that the parents were very worried. So in the local town, they tried visiting 2-3 children's specialists. They gave various medicines including antibiotics, but there was no response. The child continued to have fever. Then they found out from there where to go to Hyderabad, because it's not a normal type of fever. Somebody suggested go to Lotus Hospitals. So once they came here, we evaluated her in the ward, but within a day she began to worsen. There was swelling around the body, face and lips and all that. Then we realized that this is something which is not a regular condition, it's something which needs very specialized and intensive care. That's when we shifted to the children's ICU. Myself, Dr. Jilani and team, Dr. Amir and a few other doctors. We did a systematic evaluation and we found a rare condition in her, something called autoimmune hepatitis. Autoimmunity itself means our own antibodies recognize our cells and tissues as foreign. Normally some invader from outside, a virus, a bacteria, anything else which comes from outside, that invokes the antibody response, where the body's immune response fights against it, eliminates it. In vast majority of situations, you don't even know it has happened. It's a silent war which goes on. In this condition, autoimmunity, the body's immune system turns against us. We become the enemy. We means certain organs or organ systems become the enemy for our own immune system. And that's what really happened. In this girl, the immune system reacted strongly against her liver. Liver is a very vital organ. It's called the factory of the body. All chemical processes, hormones, everything has to pass through the liver. So with severe liver dysfunction, you find something called encephalopathy. The brain function starts deteriorating, they go into a coma, sometimes have fits, all these things happen. Apart from that, the blood coagulation system doesn't clot properly, so you can have bleeding from various sides, from the nose, mouth, from the intestine, from the skin, all these can happen. Apart from that, the liver enzymes cause damage to various other organs. Not just the hepatitis, but this girl slipped slowly into something called a multi-organ failure. Multi-organ is more than 3 organ systems failing, where she needed ventilation. Respiratory support had to be assured because she was not breathing properly and her lung function had deteriorated. A lot of fluid had accumulated in the lungs. So just giving normal oxygen was not enough. We had to put her on a ventilator, mechanical ventilator. Then her heart function started slowing down. Blood pressure started dropping. That's called hypotension. That's not a good sign at all. So we had to use artificial medicines to raise her blood pressure to the normal value, and that we had to support a heart function also. Her blood clotting was totally deranged, and she had some bleeding from the nose and various other sites. To correct that, we had to give some special vitamins, some vitamin K. Apart from that, transfusions, plasma as well as platelets and all that. And the other thing was the renal function. Renal function also started worsening. Her urine output went down. That's usually probably secondary to the shock that she was in. Once we had a proper diagnosis with systematic evaluation, first things first, we always look for the common causes. Things like typhoid, there are about 5 or 6 hepatitis viruses. All these tests came back negative. We even excluded tuberculosis, including COVID also. COVID can cause a similar dysfunction. When we found that certain markers were extremely high, then we started to think, are we missing something? And that's when we went to the next level of investigation to look for rarer conditions like autoimmunity. And that's when we could clinch the diagnosis. Once the diagnosis is made, the treatment becomes very clear and specific. We narrowed down on to starting intravenous immunoglobulin. 2 doses are administered, 1 gram per kilogram. It's a relatively expensive medicine. It's a biological product. We gave it consecutively over 2 days, followed by steroids, intravenous steroids. These two interventions make a remarkable difference. In 48 hours, the organ function started improving, kidney function, liver function, as well as lung function. Blood pressure started maintaining by itself, and we could slowly wean off or reduce the doses of various drugs and eventually get her off the ventilator, the blood pressure medicines. And without oxygen, and she was beginning to recover well. After a few days, we shifted her to the ward, and that's where she's been recovering. Today, she's ready to go home, but since it's a rare condition, a close follow-up is required for such children. So next week, we're calling her back for some more tests, and further, based on what the experts, gastroenterologists and liver specialists for children, what they recommend, we will continue the treatment. Now that they know where to come, for any issue also, they will come to us only, and we will take care of her and do our best. Autoimmunity usually is some trigger, some virus somewhere or internal trigger which sometimes we cannot even find out. What triggered the response? So normally our tissues are known to our immune system. Immune system, there are two arms to immunity. One is cells, that's called cellular immunity. There's something called antibodies, which is humoral immunity. Both work together. It's a close collaboration. It's extremely complex field. We are just beginning to understand the finer nuances of immunology and how the body's immune system functions. These two arms, they recognize our own tissues, like say our blood vessels, our heart, various organ systems as natural, ours. So they don't attack us. But something triggered, something where the immune system was over-triggered, or a virus made the liver started looking like a foreign body. That's hard to say when it happened, because she was suffering from the illness 2 weeks before we came. That triggered off a response where the immune system started attacking her liver. And gradually her liver functions went down and she got very sick. So autoimmunity itself is not a very rare condition. There are so many conditions which are autoimmune disorders. But hepatitis per se, if you take 100 children with acute hepatitis, that means acute liver swelling, less than 6 will be due to autoimmunity. Another 50-60 will be due to various infections, viruses, some metabolic conditions where biochemical process can cause a deranged liver function. In about 20-30%, no matter what you try, you can never find a cause. They are called idiopathic. So in less than 6%, it's autoimmunity. Autoimmune hepatitis per se causing acute liver failure is again rare. That itself is rare, and causing multi-organ failure is just like a rarity. It's extremely uncommon. And we had to struggle through a lot. Our doctors, nurses, we worked very hard, day and night, supported her through the crisis, and eventually we were able to bring her out of this crisis, and successfully today she's going home.